Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the states that I was the most surprised with in the 2024 election. So we're going to be going back into the 2024 election to discuss one more thing that I really wanted to cover, but I haven't gone there yet. But now that the results are long over and finalized, and after we've gotten to see a lot of these states, their margins and their trends, as well as some voter registration to help back that up, I can now come out with this video and bring you guys my top 5 states that surprised us the most. It definitely surprised me the most, but I'm sure almost everyone in the political field and people who follow politics were surprised by these top 5 states. Before we get started on that, please subscribe, like this video, put all your comments and suggestions in the section below. And so before I do the top 5 states that I was the most surprised with, I'm going to take out some states that I was not surprised with that could be contenders. But these are states that I just want to tell you right now, I was not surprised by their margin. The first one is Florida. Donald Trump did end up winning Florida by over 13 points, which is like 10 points more than his 2020 win. But this to me was not surprising at all, since I did predict this margin was going to occur in my final prediction. I said Trump was going to win it by a safe margin, and he ended up winning it by around a safe margin. I'd said a 12-point win. He won by over 13 points, which didn't surprise me. Miami-Dade flipping also didn't surprise me at all. So this state, hard trend to the right, but pretty much everyone saw it coming, apart from the people who were blind to the numbers in front of their eyes. But this state was not a surprise. Another one that was also not a surprise for me was Arizona. Even though this margin was very, very large for a swing state, he won it by 5.5%, which is a pretty big flip from Biden's win in 2020. This state was not a surprise for me. I knew he was going to win it from the first day I started predicting this election. Never once did I have this state going in the Democrat column this cycle, and I was not surprised by that margin at all. I did predict a lean margin, which is between around 2 and 6% back then. I did change it a little bit now, but back then it was between 2 and 6%, and it did fall in that range. So this was another state that I was also not very surprised with at all. And 2 more states that I'll quickly glance over is the states of Iowa and Ohio, which did have a 13-point and 11-point margins. Both of these two I did expect to go in Trump's column by around that safe margin, and they both also went around in that safe margin. Ohio just below that 12-point margin. But still, none of these states surprised me at all. But let's get into these states that did surprise me now. And we're going to begin with the first state, which is the state of Texas. This one was a real big shocker. Donald Trump winning Texas by 13.7% was probably one of the most shocking things I saw on election night when I was looking at the state of Texas and how fast it was called for Donald Trump. Texas reports their voting similar to other states where the Democrat cities end up coming first. But a weird trend that I noticed is that when the Dallas-Fort Worth area came in, it already looked very bad for Kamala. And after I started to see some of these suburbs fill in, and counties like Harris County, which she only won by 6, I knew already that Donald Trump at that point would be winning the state by a larger margin. But what also surprised me a lot were these swings in the Rio Grande, which actually accelerated into the point where this area of the country is Republican. It is not Democrat like it used to be. And I can actually show you guys this area of the country used to be very Democrat. Even as recent as 2016, there was not a single Republican county in the Rio Grande Valley down here. But this transformation basically erased any sort of gain Democrats have been making since the 2012 election. And right there, it basically has destroyed completely any thought that this state could be competitive. And I didn't see that at all. I did not see that coming at all, where he would win it, where he would win the state of Texas more than Florida. There is no data that we can look at because Texas does not register by party. The only thing we had was polls, and the polls did show Donald Trump doing very good in it, but it didn't show him doing this good. And so this right here was a huge surprise for me. And she only got 4.8 million votes, which is a huge disappointment for Democrats in the state of Texas. and one that they will have to live on for a long time and will cause a lot more trouble in more competitive states in which they need those Hispanic voters. The second state on this list is one that I also was very surprised with and shocked. And this is one that kind of went under the radar, and not a lot of people noticed it until later in the night when a lot of news networks were pulling up this state, and it wasn't called on many news networks until later in the night. And this would be the state of New Jersey. Now this one right here is very, very, very weird because it seems like it came out of nowhere. To most people's eyes, nobody saw the state of New Jersey coming down to a lean margin when every other state in the Northeast is still in that safe margin apart from New Hampshire and Maine. So this is a very, very weird occurrence, and one that I did not see coming at all. I did not see this being a 5.9 percentage point win. I did not even see it being a less than a 10-point win for Kamala Harris. But here we are in the state of New Jersey, and she only wins the state by 5.9%. And this right here signifies a very rapid change in America's urban areas, because the states that actually moved right the most were states that were much more populated than the ones that were not as populated. If you look at the shift, I mean, these are some of the most populated counties in the United States, and they all moved to the right by double-digit margins. In fact, every single county in the state of New Jersey moved to the right by almost at least 5 points, many of them double-digit margins. Passaic County, I think, had the largest swing in the state, which was a 19-point win, and was able to give the Trump a 3-point win in the county. And this is a state right here that Biden ended up winning by 15.9% in the 2020 election, and also one that Clinton won by 14% in the 2016 election. We would probably have to go all the way back to the 2004 election to see a race that was as close as this one. But still, I do believe that Democrats are in trouble in New Jersey if they do not get their act together. And we will be seeing a lot of New Jersey this election because this year is the gubernatorial race. And we're going to see if a Republican is able to make this close enough where Democrats are going to be really, really in trouble in the 2028 election in the state of New Jersey. And this is also one that, we will be keeping an eye on because nobody expected this to be considered a swing state. It was the same margin as Arizona, which definitely shocked me the most. And this is a state that if Democrats do lose, they will not be winning any presidential election anytime soon. The third state on this list is also one that was extremely surprising to me, and it is the state of New York. And the reason why this one was surprising was because it was a 23-point margin in the 2020 election. All of us going to this election knew that New York was going to be closer, but we did not know that it would come down from 23 points all the way down to 12, which is almost placing this state in the likely column. This is one that none of us saw coming, and the fact that this state was actually a 12-point margin is a really a bad warning sign once again for Democrats in the urban areas around this country. And from the next state, the next two states actually, you will be able to see what I mean by that. But in New York City especially, we can see Nassau County was flipped from blue to red. Suffolk County did solidify a little bit more Republican, but the biggest shifts were in these counties around the New York City area. New York, which is Manhattan, went from Biden plus 74 to Harris plus 64. Bronx County went from Biden plus 66 all the way down to Harris plus 45. Similar in Kings, it was 54 down to 43. And finally, Queens was 45 all the way down to 24. And so even though the counties in upstate New York kind of stayed the same, these shifts in the majority of populated New York City area moved the state and pretty much cut the margin in half. And this, along with New York, is probably the biggest reason why Donald Trump ended up winning the popular vote. Also with Texas and Florida. But these liberal states moving really huge margins to the right is a big reason why Donald Trump was able to clinch that popular vote win by over a point. And there's a reason why Democrats should be worried about this state. And this is another one that I want to highlight, very important, because next year is going to be the New York governor election. Kathy Hochul is probably one of the most unpopular governors right now in the United States. And I actually do see, I have a very, very hot take on this. And I do see a possibility that a Republican could actually win the gubernatorial race in the state of New York. I don't think it's the most likely scenario right now, but I do believe it is a possibility. So that's something that we are going to be taking a look at. But New York is one that I was also extremely surprised. It has very similar demographics and metrics as New Jersey. These states are very similar to each other. And it does make a lot of sense that both of them did move in similar fashion to the right. And we will definitely be seeing what's going to happen to New York in the next 4 years. Do I believe it is ready to flip? Absolutely not. It is still a Democrat stronghold, and it is still one that she did win by a safe margin. But the fact that it is less Democrat than Florida is Republican just shows you how the country has changed over the past 4 years. And this leads us also to another state that surprised me a lot, and that is the state of Illinois, also another state that voted less Democrat than Florida voted Republican. And this is a state that wasn't even in the safe column this election. This was a 10.9 percentage point victory, which was quite a lot less than Biden's 17-point victory in the 2020 election. And that is solely because of Cook County, which went from Biden plus 50 to Harris plus 41. And all of these suburbs also did become a lot more less Democrat. And since the majority of the population is concentrated in these 5 counties over here, the rest of the state, no matter what it does, unless it swings like 100 points in one direction, it won't really change the trajectory of the state as long as this area is consistently moving left. And this is a state that I did not ever expect to be in that likely margin this election cycle. But given how we've already explained the urban trends, especially in big cities, if they continue that trajectory, you're going to be seeing states like New Jersey flip Republican. You're going to be seeing states like Illinois, New York, other states that are extremely urbanized also become a lot less safe for Democrats, and states that they will have to be putting money into. And so that's why Illinois is another state that they do need to be careful with. I do not believe that it would flip in the next election cycle, but this is another state that they would have to be putting money into when they really shouldn't, because states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are ones that they have to invest in given how close they are. And also states in the Sun Belt, those are some other states that they also have to put money into. But if they have to put money into states like New Jersey and Illinois, that's going to spell a lot of trouble for them in the next cycle. And last but definitely not least is going to be the state of California. This one right here was only a 20-point win for the person that is from the state of California, the person that actually was a senator from the state of California. And it didn't even matter that she was a senator in California, and it didn't matter that her home state was in California, because it actually shrunk by almost 10 points comparing the past 2 elections. It went from Biden plus 29 all the way down to Harris plus 20. And this right here was one of the single largest shifts in the nation, and one that definitely shocked me a lot. And I did not see the state moving 9 points more Republican, over 9 points. It's also the home state of the presidential candidate Kamala Harris. And this just saw shifts, anywhere you're gonna go in this state. There was not a single county in the state that Harris did better than what Biden did in the 2020 election. Even the area, the San Francisco area, this is where she's from, and she did around 7 points worse in all the counties combined. She did absolutely horrible in LA County. She lost 11 points in these areas around LA, like San Bernardino and Riverside. She lost by double digits. Imperial County, which is majority Hispanic, she lost 25 points. And these are counties that Donald Trump ended up flipping. And if you want to take a little bit of a closer look at all the counties that Donald Trump was able to flip, I believe it was at least 10. This map right here was absolutely brutal for Republicans. Most people thought they were absolutely done. They were not going to be able to be competitive in the state of California. And now they are not competitive, but it does actually help them a lot in the fact that they could be able to flip a lot of these House races in the next election cycle and in the midterms, because this state will be a lot closer. And a lot of people in this state who previously would not even think of voting Republican because it could not even be close, now could maybe start to think about it because they see more of a hope for the state going forward. And I'm not saying that California is going to flip, because it is not. California is not going to flip anytime soon. But the fact that it could get close could signify a change, maybe even could elect a Republican governor, since those are a lot more easy to elect, or a lot of those House races that could be closer. And so those were my top 5 surprises for this election cycle. Of course, there were other surprises. For example, Maine is one favorable for Democrats. I did not actually expect her to win Maine by 7 points. Other states like Massachusetts were actually closer than I thought. And, you know, there are a couple other examples, but those aren't as shocking as these states that I already covered. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like my video, put all your comments in the section below, and I will check you guys out in the next one.